The golden early summer sunlight bathes our quiet neighborhood in the Boston suburbs, giving Maple Grove a dreamlike quality. In my craftsman home nestled among towering maples, I rush through morning preparations with frantic energy. Sunlight dances across the kitchen's natural stone countertop, illuminating jars of dried herbs and essential oils. "Mom, is Dad coming to my nature presentation today?" Lucas asks while carefully placing his watercolor painting of local birds into his portfolio. His soulful eyes pierce my heart, filled with hope that makes my chest tighten. Ethan, my husband, has been absent from our son's nature club events with increasing frequency. "Well, Dad has an important meeting today," I reply with forced brightness while tucking homemade granola bars into our son's lunchbox. Lucas is 7 years old, but possesses such gentle wisdom and emotional intelligence that surprises everyone who meets this sensitive second grader. He shows remarkable talent for observing patterns in nature and creates beautiful detailed sketches that his teachers proudly display. At his nature observation club, the other children gravitate to his quiet leadership and keen eye for discovering hidden treasures. Our mornings at home follow the same rhythm, starting precisely at 7 o'clock. I prepare our organic breakfast and send Lucas off to school by 8 o'clock. From 9 to 6 o'clock, I immerse myself in my plant therapy practice at a Healing Blooms, my home-based wellness center. Ethan once returned home by 7 p.m., but his arrivals have grown increasingly unpredictable, his attention constantly divided. While arranging healing herbs for today's anxiety management workshop, memories of our first meeting 10 years ago wash over me. It happened right here in this very space, though it was simply my garden workshop then. He arrived seeking botanical remedies for his brother Mason's pediatric mental health clinic opening. He stood out immediately in his impeccably tailored suit, exuding precision and ambition that contrasted with my earthy surroundings. I still feel the electricity of that moment when he smiled at my display of lavender and chamomile, saying, "My brother believes in the healing power of nature." 3 months later, we committed to building a life together. In those days, Ethan worked tirelessly as a promising director at a prestigious investment firm, Morgan Stanley. The first 5 years of marriage brought us joy that seemed boundless and complete. Lucas's birth created a soul-deep connection that I thought would last forever. My mother-in-law, Vivian, embraced our union with genuine warmth and acceptance. Our Sunday family gatherings became sacred traditions, with Mason's presence adding to our sense of wholeness. Mason, dedicated to his work as a pediatric psychiatrist at Boston Children's Hospital, cherishes Lucas with the tender devotion of a second father. Despite being just a year apart, Mason and Ethan developed starkly different values and approaches to life. Mason radiates emotional intelligence and prioritizes human connection, while Ethan pursues perfection and maintains careful distance from messy emotions. Everything shifted dramatically 6 months ago when Vivian passed away unexpectedly. A widening gulf emerged between the brothers over her substantial educational endowment, and our family circle gradually unraveled. Ethan claimed mounting work pressures, his attention increasingly consumed by his phone rather than his family. Holidays once filled with togetherness now found him hunched over his laptop, documenting our imperfect family moments for social media while barely participating in them. Our weekends transformed beyond recognition. He began missing Lucas's nature club presentations and art shows, events he'd previously photographed extensively, and our family meals devolved into Ethan scrolling through market updates. Through these painful changes, only Mason maintained his steady presence, attending Lucas's nature walks with genuine interest, supporting us with compassionate understanding when Ethan was physically present but emotionally absent. While preparing for my morning therapy session, I surveyed the carefully arranged medicinal plants throughout my workshop space. After completing my studies in plant science, establishing this healing sanctuary had been my deepest aspiration. Infusing therapeutic properties into personalized plant remedies to address clients' emotional needs remains my passion. While blending lavender and chamomile for anxiety relief, a realization strikes me suddenly. The days when Ethan would watch me work and say, "Your healing blends are transformative," now exist only in faded memories. Something feels increasingly artificial about Ethan, who projects the image of the perfect husband and father online while growing distant in reality. I've always recognized his need for external validation and attraction to luxury, but these traits have intensified alarmingly. The delicate leaves of lemon balm at my consultation table catch the morning light, their gentle aroma filling the space. Wednesday's organic herb sourcing has become my cherished ritual. After selecting produce at Whole Foods Market, I visit the local sustainable growers cooperative. Connecting with these living plants consistently centers my scattered thoughts. While preparing nature identification cards for Lucas, my heart swells with maternal pride. Recently, he's begun memorizing medicinal properties and occasionally assists during client consultations. Dr. Rivera from the Community Wellness Center compliments his natural empathy whenever she attends our workshops. He participates in the weekend ecology program and thrives among his like-minded friends. Nature observation at Riverside Park on Saturday mornings, Lucas eagerly identifies bird species with Mason while sketching in his journal. Ethan once participated enthusiastically. Now, he's perpetually dressed in designer suits, constantly checking investment updates on his phone, even during family time. He rarely appears at Ward Elementary School's parent-teacher conferences anymore. Gazing at the maple-lined street outside our home, I release a weighted sigh. My wedding band catches the morning light, momentarily blinding me. Our connection, which blossomed through healing plants a decade ago, stands at a critical turning point. The community center clock chimes 8 o'clock across the neighborhood. In this moment, we remain oblivious to the darkness gathering around our seemingly peaceful existence. Yesterday was Saturday, typically reserved for Lucas's nature club presentation as a family. The sun blazed overhead while gentle winds rustled through Riverside Park's observation area. That morning, Ethan unexpectedly declared he was canceling all weekend commitments. "Sorry, I need to analyze some critical market trends today. I promise I'll attend your next presentation." Lucas's expression fell momentarily before he replied with practiced resignation, "It's fine." Our son has gradually adapted to his father's consistent absences. This quiet acceptance fractures something inside me. Ethan locked himself in his home office surrounded by financial charts all day. While always precise in his work, today his movements betrayed unusual tension. His phone remained permanently in his grip, and I occasionally overheard hushed conversations through the door. He skipped lunch despite my offers, claiming, "I'll grab something later," remaining isolated until dusk. That evening, worried about these secretive behaviors, I paused outside his office door. His phone conversation filtered through clearly. "Yes, everything's proceeding as planned. The preparations for tomorrow are flawless." His tone carried an emotional detachment I'd never before detected. This morning, I woke to rich coffee aromas floating up from our kitchen. To my astonishment, Ethan stood arranging breakfast. "Good morning, Olivia," my husband greeted me with uncharacteristic warmth. The table displayed perfectly arranged avocado toast and fresh fruit smoothies. His transformation made yesterday's suspicious behavior seem imaginary. "I'm preparing a special anniversary dinner tonight. I realize I've been neglecting family time lately with work demands." Lucas's face brightened instantly at this announcement. "Really? Dad's actually cooking?" After breakfast, I began my therapy workshop preparations as usual. With seasonal transitions approaching, I needed to adjust my healing protocols. While blending chamomile and valerian root tinctures for sleep support, unease gnawed at my concentration. Around 2 p.m., a message appeared from Ethan, "Home by 7 o'clock tonight. I've planned something special. #perfect family dinner." A notification that should bring joy instead triggered deep apprehension. Ethan volunteering to cook was entirely out of character. Throughout our decade together, he'd barely managed to prepare simple toast. At 6:30 p.m., I collected Lucas from school. My son, fresh from his after-school science program at Ward Elementary, bubbled with unusual excitement. He repeatedly asked, "Mom, do you think Dad is really making dinner himself?" Arriving home, soft ambient lighting welcomes us from within. The living room's pendant lights create a gentle glow, and an unfamiliar artisanal table runner adorns our reclaimed wood table. Our recently purchased West Elm dinnerware has been meticulously arranged. Rich aromas of roasted vegetable bisque drift from the kitchen. A rustic artisan bread appears to be baking simultaneously. Yet something about this picture-perfect scene intensifies my growing unease. Ethan's movements seem strangely choreographed and unnatural. He handles kitchen tools awkwardly, frequently referring to his phone screen. Despite his composed expression, tension radiates through his precise movements. Most disturbing is his compulsive checking of his watch every few minutes. Just about 30 minutes until perfection, he announces, immediately checking his smartphone notifications. A fleeting shadow crosses his face at whatever message appears on screen. While helping Lucas with his science project, I carefully monitor my husband's kitchen activities. The rhythmic chopping, deliberate stirring, methodical temperature adjustments, everything feels artificially precise and calculated. "Mom, the soup Dad made smells amazing," Lucas observes with childhood innocence. A primal warning shoots through my body like electric current. My deepest instincts scream that something sinister lurks beneath this elaborately staged family dinner. Candles flicker across our dining table, casting dancing shadows. Steam rises dramatically from Ethan's vegetable bisque, creating an almost theatrical scene in the carefully arranged lighting. The artisan bread glows with perfect golden brown crust, while the salad features artistic arrangements of locally sourced produce. "Please, join me at the table," Ethan's voice carries unusual strain. The soup poured into designer bowls looks suspiciously professional and Instagram-ready. Why would my husband, who typically orders takeout rather than cook, suddenly create such a photogenic meal? This discordance deepens my growing sense of dread. "This is incredible. Dad actually cooked this?" Lucas exclaims with genuine amazement. The community center clock chimes 7:15 in the distance. "Today marks a special occasion," Ethan remarks with a smile that briefly resembles the warmth I fell in love with a decade ago. Yet something predatory lurks behind that practiced expression, triggering my protective instincts. My spoon breaks the soup's surface. Warm, perfectly balanced flavors spread across my tongue. The professional quality of this dish only intensifies my suspicion. "Dad, did you really make this yourself? Just followed a recipe. Are you enjoying it?" The conversation maintains an illusion of normalcy. I notice Ethan's left hand repeatedly checking his phone beneath the table. Approximately 10 minutes into our meal, the first warning signs appear. Lucas recognizes it before I do. "Mom, I don't feel right," my son's voice quavers slightly. Seconds later, intense vertigo overwhelms me. My vision blurs around the edges as numbness creeps through my extremities. "Lucas." I attempt to stand, but my legs collapse beneath me. I crumple to the floor beside our dining table. Lucas falls beside me in nearly identical fashion. "Dad, something's wrong," my son calls out weakly. Ethan makes no move to help us. Instead, he observes with clinical detachment. All pretense of affection has vanished from his expression. Though conscious, I instinctively feign complete collapse. Lucas appears to mimic my strategy. My perceptive child seems to instinctively sense the danger we're facing. At that moment, Ethan's phone rings. "Yes, it's done." They're both incapacitated, he reports with businesslike efficiency. "Everything's proceeding according to schedule. I'll handle the remaining steps." After ending the call, Ethan walks toward his office, footsteps fading down the hallway. When silence falls, I whisper urgently to my son. "Lucas, stay completely still." Barely opening my eyes, I see my son give an almost imperceptible nod. My brave child follows my lead with perfect understanding. The wall clock's second hand crawls forward with excruciating deliberation. Car headlights from Maple Grove Avenue occasionally slice through our windows. The neighborhood's typical peaceful ambience now amplifies our desperate predicament. We remain motionless as though suspended in time. Lucas's small frame quivers slightly against mine, his determination evident in every controlled breath. His bravery brings a painful constriction to my chest. From the office emanate systematic sounds of electronic devices being factory reset. Between these noises, fragments of Ethan's hushed conversations filter through. They're completely immobile now. The toxin is working effectively. Ice spreads through my veins. My husband monitors us from a calculated distance. He makes no attempt to approach and confirm our condition. This oversight becomes our slim advantage. Beyond our windows, twilight has surrendered to complete darkness. The table candles still flicker steadily, projecting distorted silhouettes of our collapsed forms against the wall, foreshadowing our intended fate. I sense Ethan's clinical gaze periodically examining us from the hallway. While lying motionless, my mind races desperately. What drove him to such elaborate deadly planning? Was Vivian's educational fund the sole motivation, or was something darker at play? Beside me, Lucas's small body trembles with suppressed fear. Maternal pride mingles with anguish that my 7-year-old must display such extraordinary composure in this life-threatening scenario. A single droplet of perspiration traces down his temple. His battle against panic is palpable in his controlled breathing. The atmosphere grows increasingly oppressive. The meticulously prepared meal sits abandoned, transformed from nurturing sustenance to deadly weapon. Elongated shadows from the pendant lights create unsettling patterns across our home. The relentless ticking continues, seemingly counting our remaining moments. Each passing vehicle's lights momentarily illuminate our windows, each representing potential salvation that remains frustratingly unaware. Our upscale neighborhood's privacy now becomes our prison, isolating our silent struggle. Ethan's measured footsteps return. I carefully regulate my breathing into deep, unconscious seeming patterns. He stands observing us, his presence radiating cold calculation. This stranger wearing my husband's face looms over us with clinical detachment. Not much longer now, Ethan murmurs to himself. This voice belongs physically to my partner of a decade yet sounds utterly foreign in its emotional emptiness. The community center bells sound in the distance, adding surreal punctuation to our nightmare. From my position on the floor, I focus every sense on tracking my husband's movements. The sounds of electronic wiping from his office seem to methodically erase our shared history. Drawers opening, luggage being filled, documents being sorted, his intentions become crystal clear. Ethan systematically destroys connections to his former life. The antique timepiece in our entryway solemnly strikes 9. Its resonant tones underscore the unreality of our situation. Streetlights from Maple Grove cast our prone figures in stark relief against the hardwood floor. "Mom," Lucas whispers with barely perceptible breath. Without opening my eyes, I squeeze his small hand reassuringly. "Stay calm. Mom will keep you safe." My smartwatch remains active beneath my sleeve. The emergency recording function continues, capturing everything: Ethan's conversations, his methodical preparations, every damning word. Another safeguard was my urgent message to Mason before dinner. Following a powerful intuitive warning, I had texted, "If I don't respond by 8:30, come over immediately. Bring help." From the office comes the unmistakable sound of luggage being wheeled across hardwood, followed by systematic packing. Between these activities, Ethan continues his phone conversation. "Everything will be concluded by morning. The situation is under control." His voice contains no trace of the man who once promised to cherish me forever. Lucas's slight body continues to tremble against mine. This ordeal is beyond anything a child should endure. Yet his trust in my guidance never wavers. His courage fills me with fierce protective love. The doorbell's sudden chime slices through our frozen tableau. The unexpected sound shatters the calculated silence. Ethan's movements in the office halt abruptly, followed by hurried steps. His descent down the stairs echoes with unusual heaviness. "Who's there at this hour?" His voice carries uncharacteristic irritation. Footsteps approach our front entrance. The door opens with a telling creak. "Ethan, what's happening? Why aren't you answering texts?" Mason's familiar voice carries authority, and multiple presences accompany him. Several shadowed figures stand behind his silhouette. "Mason? Why are you here with these people?" Ethan's voice betrays mounting panic. "I alerted them," I announce clearly, rising from the floor with deliberate steadiness. Lucas stands beside me, his small hand gripping mine tightly. Mason stands at our threshold with 3 police officers flanking him. "Olivia. Lucas. You're both." Ethan's face drains of color completely. "I anticipated your plan from the beginning." I retrieve my smartwatch, displaying its screen. "Every piece of evidence is preserved here. Your suspicious organic toxin research, your secret calls, tonight's entire performance captured through our smart home system." Mason steps forward with professional composure. "Ethan, your behavior patterns raised serious concerns weeks ago. Your obsession with Mom's educational fund and your relationship with Zoe Parker. This is all a misunderstanding. Ethan interrupts desperately. At that precise moment, his phone illuminates with an incoming call. The screen clearly displays Zoe Parker with the profile picture of his young analyst. His call history reveals dozens of exchanges throughout the evening. We've documented your plans to relocate to Dubai using Mother's educational endowment while erasing your current life, Mason states quietly. Ethan's posture collapses in defeat. My healing sanctuary I built with such care, Lucas's nature journals, our promise to Vivian about educational support, everything crystallizes with painful clarity. Outside, police vehicle lights flash silently through our windows. Their rhythmic blue pulses interrupt the quiet residential darkness of Maple Grove. The community center clock strikes 10 solemnly. Death has been cheated tonight. The neighborhood wellness center's wind chimes tinkle softly, their gentle sounds marking our survival. Lucas presses against me, his small frame still trembling but his eyes reflecting profound relief. Ma'am, we'll need your formal statement shortly, the lead officer explains gently. The warm lighting of our living room now feels cleansing rather than threatening. Mason stands protectively nearby. His expression carries deep sorrow intermingled with profound compassion. He has always been our family's true north. Mom would see justice in this, he says softly. Tears flow freely at his simple truth. The healing bonds my mother-in-law valued above material wealth would continue in unexpected forms. The maple trees outside our windows sway gently in the evening breeze. That night in the Boston police station interview room, the full truth emerged under harsh fluorescent lights. Darkness settled outside as street lamps along Maple Grove Avenue cast their gentle glow. Lucas received specialized support from a trauma counselor in an adjacent room. Here's all the digital evidence, I said, transferring files from my smartwatch to the detective's tablet, effectively sealing Ethan's fate. The officer mentioned that Ethan maintained complete silence in his holding room. The accumulated evidence, however, spoke volumes. Mason outlined the situation with controlled emotion in his clinical tone. I first detected anomalies 3 months ago during a therapy session with one of my patients. I inadvertently overheard Ethan's conversation in the hallway, systematic fraud at Morgan Stanley investment firm, his secret relationship with junior analyst Zoe Parker, and elaborately documented plans for Dubai relocation. His online gambling losses approached $2 million, compounded by his obsession with luxury watches and designer clothing. Vivian's educational endowment of $50 million represented his escape from financial ruin. The night's events had unfolded under careful surveillance. After receiving my emergency alert, Mason had immediately coordinated with authorities. Medical professionals stood ready nearby to administer antidotes if needed. Our interviews continued until dawn, after which we found temporary sanctuary in Mason's apartment. The subsequent days crashed over us like relentless waves. Ethan and Zoe's arrests reverberated through financial circles, while the investment fraud investigation dominated regional headlines and social media. 1 month later at Riverside Park's Nature Preserve, Lucas sits cross-legged with Mason, carefully sketching bird migration patterns in his nature journal. Following our joint decision, Vivian's educational endowment will fund scholarships at the Community Education Foundation. We recognize this perfectly honors Vivian's lifelong dedication to accessible learning. The Wellness Center community embraces us with continued support and understanding. Lucas attends weekly therapeutic sessions, with his counselor noting significant emotional processing. His creative projects at Ward Elementary receive special recognition, filling me with quiet maternal pride. Mom? Lucas asks, looking up from his nature journal, sunlight highlighting the freckles across his nose. Are you still afraid of Dad? His unexpected question catches me off guard, but meeting his perceptive gaze, I respond honestly. No, I'm not afraid anymore. We have our true family now, you, Uncle Mason, and Grandma Vivian watching over us. Today, as always, healing plants flourish in my Healing Blooms workshop. The lavender and chamomile no longer trigger painful memories. They've transformed into powerful symbols of renewal and resilience. Next weekend brings Lucas's important presentation at the Young Naturalists exhibition. As we support him from the audience, I sense Vivian's approving presence beside us. Family connections transcend conventional definitions and bloodlines. I deeply believe that authentic bonds emerge stronger through adversity's refining fire. Our journey toward genuine wholeness has only just begun.